Okay, beautiful people, we are now ready to begin page 4. Alright, so I'm just going to quickly show you what page 4 looks like. So we've got a little magnetized flap here and a booklet here. And this opens to the side and then up, out, and out. Oops. And open. Okay, so not too confusing. Let's get our measurements started here. So, piece A measures 10 by 6 and 3. Piece B is a hinge, which is 6 and 3 by 1. Piece C, you need 2 of them, and it is 6 3/4 by 5 1/4. D is 4 1/4 by 2 and 3. E is another hinge, which is 5 by 1. F is 7 by 5. 2 G pieces, and they measure 7 1/2 by 5. And H is 7 by 5 1/2. Alright, so the cutting guide is on the PDF, both at the beginning and at the beginning of page 4. Alright, so get all of your measurements cut and we shall begin. So this was the last page we worked on. This is page 3, so we're just going to flip this over and we shall start scoring. So grab your scoreboard. And piece A, we are going to score at 5 inches along the 10-inch side. So that's piece A. B is our hinge, so we're going to score it at half on the 1-inch side, so half lengthwise. And both of your C pieces are going to be scored at half along the 5 1/4 inch side. And your D piece is going to be scored at half and 5/8 on the 4 1/4 inch side. Okay, so now we will put this away for a moment and apply some score tape. So piece A does not get any score tape. Piece B, on both the 1/2 inch sections of your hinge, and on the 1/2 inch sections of your C piece, C pieces. And now D is one of those rare instances where your score tape is going to go on the mountain side as opposed to the valley side. Okay, so there's your mountain side with the bumps. That's where we're going to put our score tape, ensuring that you do not go over that little 1/8 of an inch gusset. Okay, fold on all of your score lines. So fold and crease your score lines. And then miter the corners. So with the hinges, I find it easier if you fold the hinge and then miter, so you know your corners are they're equal. Okay, get those little pieces out of the way. And bring back your A piece, fold it. And now both of your C pieces are going to go in the center of your A piece, right beside the score line. So one on the left of the score line and one on the right of the score line, just like that. Okay, so remove the backing from one of them. And place it right beside the score line. You don't want it to be right on the score line or your A piece won't fold. Alright, so that's what you've got there, and that folds up. Recrease this score line now that you've got some bulk there. And you've got yourself a little booklet. Alright, now your D piece, remove the backing from the score tape there. And now this, so you've got your A/C piece all ready to go. And now the D piece is going to go on the back of it, and so just center it best you can on the back. Alright, and so it's going to close over like that. Alright, now we're just going to quickly add a magnet to keep this closed. So, little piece of score tape on your D piece, 2 magnets, and another piece of score tape, and close it up. There you go, you've got yourself an ACD booklet. And now we are going to attach our hinge. So remove the backing from one side of the hinge, and you're going to place it, so your opening's here, you're going to place it right here, okay, with the, this is the opening here, you've got this part of the score tape off. So you want this whole booklet to be able to open like that. Alright, so this side, alright, so there it is. There's the other half of the score tape, so it's going to open like that. So now we are going to attach it to our base page. Make sure your base page is the right way up. And we will attach it to the left side of your base page. Just like that. Oh, but it is a little bit... Again, I'm videoing first thing in the morning, so I'm sure things are going to be crooked for the first couple minutes. Oh, I don't think this one's going to come up. Shoot. Okay, let's try it again. Better? A little bit. Okay, perfect. So we've got that. Now we're going to set this aside, and we're going to start scoring our other pieces. Okay, so your E piece, well, it's another hinge, so we'll be scoring at half on the 1-inch side, so down the center. Both of your G pieces will be scored at half along the 7.5-inch side. the right ones here. Yeah. Okay, so both G pieces half along the 7.5 inch side, and then H will be scored at half and 5/8, and that's along the 5.5 inch side. Okay, and F does not get scored. So let's apply some score tape to those. Alright, and now your H piece, just like the D piece, we're going to put the score tape on the mountain side as opposed to the valley like all the rest of them. Okay, so now I'm actually making sure again that that gusset is not covered up. It's hard to show you, but I hope you got that. And miter the corners. Okay, get rid of all those scraps. Okay, so we're going to start with your hinge, your E piece hinge, and taking F, which is not scored at all, we're going to adhere the hinge to the right side of F. And then we're going to bring the base page back in, and it is going to be centered on the right side of your base page. Okay, so right here, so you can measure it if you want. I'm just going to eyeball it. Alright, so right in the center, on the far right of your base page. Looks pretty good. And now your G pieces. Your G pieces are going to go on either side of that F piece. So one G piece to the left side of that piece, F piece you just adhered. And now open it up, and the other G piece will go to the right. Alright, so there's your two G's right here, and this is your F, and they all open like that. Alright, and now we're going to add our H piece, the one with the little gusset, so fold and crease on both of those score lines. We've got our little 1/8 of an inch gusset. We have that gusset just because it is going over 3 other sections of paper, so you want to make sure that it closes over them well. And the score tape is on the opposite side because we want this to adhere behind, right? So we want it to go behind and over top of these pieces. So alright, so it went in behind, and now it closes up and over those pieces nicely. And then that covers it. Alright, so now we can add some magnets. So we're going to add a magnet closing this whole section to the base page. So a little bit of score tape around centered and about 1 inch or so in. And we'll get our magnets. There's 1, there's 2, a little bit more score tape, and we'll close it up. and then we will add magnets closing this to this. Right about there-ish. And 2 magnets. And some more score tape. And close it up. Alright, fabulous. There we have it. Now adding the pattern paper, nothing funky on this one, just measure the area that you want to put the pattern paper and just make it a little bit smaller. So nothing too crazy on this one, so I'll let you decide on what pattern paper you want to use, and I'll kind of just show you what I'm going to put on there. Okay, so I'm going to have to redo my D piece because I guess I changed the measurement because I wanted to use this little caterpillar guy, but I didn't write it down that I'd changed my measurement. So this is fine, you can still use it this way, but I want to use this particular piece of paper. So I am going to increase my D piece and make it 3 5/8, and the length was still fine. Yeah, so I'm just going to make it 4 1/4 by 3 5/8. I'm just going to redo that. Alright, so I just wanted to show you as I'm adding my pattern paper that I'm not going to add pattern paper to every single panel because it will get quite bulky, and these they're a great size for a 4x6 photo, and it just leaves a nice border around it. So if I can get away with not putting pattern paper on, I will. I'm only putting pattern paper on wherever there's like where you've attached something, so you've got like a hinge, like for instance we've got the magnet and we've got this that we want to cover up, so we'll definitely put something there. But yeah, the less bulky we can make it, the better, because these are really big pages to begin with, and we want to make sure that our album is going to still close once we actually have pictures in it. Okay, so I'll put one there. Now the measurements for these pattern paper pieces, we've got 6 3 by 4 3. Alright, for all of those. And on this side, what are these ones? They should be around the same. 4, almost 4 3 by 6 1/2, so a little bit different. But again, just kind of, you know, measure it. You might want a little bit more of a black border, so you might want to make your pattern paper just a little bit smaller than I am. The whole pattern paper part of it, the decorating part, I find is a really personal thing, so feel free to make whatever choices you like. And you might not be using Alice in Wonderland papers at all, so okay, and this big inside one to cover up the magnet and that attachment. Okay, so once all the pattern paper is on, this is what your page 4 will look like. Okay, and now we will set this aside and we will start on page 5. So, page 5, it's one of those pulley waterfalls, I don't know what you call them, and then it opens like that. 2 smaller pieces, and a pocket. Alright, so that is what it will look like. Let's get all of our pieces cut out here. There's quite a few of them. Most of these pages have quite a few pieces. Alright, so let's see, make sure I got them in order. So your A piece will measure 9 3/4 by 3 1/4. Your B piece is 8 3/4 by 5 3/4. Your C piece, C pieces, it's 2 of them, 2 C pieces, 5 1/2 by 3 3. Your D piece is 12 by 4 3. So this is the only time in this whole album that I used a 12 by 12 sheet of paper. And that's why it's a different texture than the rest, because I don't really have much 12 by 12 paper, so that's why that's like that. And then we will need 6 E pieces, and they measure 4 3/4 by 3 1/2, 6 of those. Your F piece is 7 inches by 1 3, and your G piece is 4 by 1 1/2. Now this is the G piece. The measurements for it can alter. It's going to be a pulley, the pulley for your waterfall. And I had something specific that I wanted to put there, so that's why it's this size. But I mean, you can really use, your G piece can really be anything that you want, as long as it's big enough to pull your waterfall. Like it's this piece here. So I mean, as long as it pulls your waterfall, it can really be any size. Okay, I just had something specific I wanted to go there. Alright, so once you've got all of those cut out, we will begin scoring. So, as always, starting with piece A, we will score this at half and at 9 1/4, and that's along the 9 3/4 side. And then we're going to turn it 90 degrees and score at half again. So I bet you can guess what this is. This is the pocket. Alright, and then take your B piece and score it at half along the 5 3/4 side. Alright, and your C piece, or both your C pieces, will score at half as well along the 5 1/2 inch side. Alright, so just do those ones for now. We will put score tape on all of those 1/2 inch sections. Okay, so apply your score tape and then miter your corners. Alright, so this is what you should have so far. Alright, now we're going to fold on all of our score lines. Let's put the pocket on first. So your piece A, remove the score tape from the 2 sides, and then fold your bottom part up. Oh, I've got a little overhang. Alright, then remove the rest of the score tape backing And this, make sure your page is the right way, or openings on the right and the left, and adhere this down to the bottom of your base page. And your B piece will adhere to the top of your base page. And your two C pieces will adhere to either side of the inside of your base page. So below the score line and above the pocket. Make sure they're lined up with each other. Alright, so now we are going to set the base page part aside for a second, and we are going to bring back our scoreboard. Piece D. This is the one that's 12 inches long. We've got quite a few score marks we're going to make on here. Score at 6, 6.5, 7, 7.5, 8, 8.5, and 9. So you're doing half-inch intervals. You're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 lines at half-inch intervals. Put your scoreboard away. And now I'm going to add a little piece of Tyvek to the back of this, because these are going to be getting a lot of use, and so I want some extra strength. Alright, I've got a piece of Tyvek measuring 4.5 by 5, just enough to cover all of those score lines. And I've put some double-sided tape, some score tape on the back of it, so I'm just going to remove all the backing and adhere this down. And now if you don't have either Tyvek or duct tape, it's not the end of the world. It's really not. This just will help ensure that your paper will remain strong no matter how many times you use the pulley mechanism of this, and no matter how many times these score lines fold and unfold and whatever, this will stay strong. Alright, so now we are going to fold on all of our score lines and crease them really well. Alright, so now we are going to bring in our E pieces and get some wet adhesive. Now you are going to apply wet adhesive. So this is the 6 inches that we've left unscored. Alright, so we are going to apply adhesive in between these last two score lines. Now make sure you don't go over those score lines. Make sure the adhesive stays in between them. And you are going to apply your first E piece right on top there. And if you have a wet nap handy, just in case you get any glue coming out. And then continue on, apply wet adhesive to the next half-inch section. And put down another piece. Oops. And just keep going until all your pieces are adhered. And now you're not going over your score line with the glue or with your paper. They're like, leave that little tiny bit. You don't want to go over your score lines because you want to ensure that they'll still fold. Okay, so once all 6 of your pieces are adhered, it should look like this. Alright, and give them all a really good crease, both this way and this way, but wait until mine aren't completely dry yet, so wait until they're completely dry. And then we're going to fold this 6-inch section behind. Alright. Okay, so once they're all adhered, at the very back you've got this little extra flap. Alright, it's still part of your D piece, alright? And this is where we are going to adhere our F piece. Alright, now I'm going to adhere F right to the bottom of it, alright, with an inch left on either side. Alright, so put some wet adhesive, but leave that little space, so about an inch, so we'll go like, you know, like that. Leave about an inch. And you are going to adhere that to that inner little flap. Try to make sure that it's even. There's the same amount of space on either side. Get rid of that extra glue. Okay. Fabulous. And now you're going to fold these 2 little flaps back. Alright, so got these 2 little flaps. This is where you just put your F piece. Alright, and fold the flaps back, and this is the rest of your waterfall. Alright, so what's going to happen is, and this is that 6-inch unscored piece, so fold it over the whole thing, and now we're going to bring our base page back in. Oh wait, we need to attach our pulley mechanism. So your pulley will be adhered to the unscored part of G, and it doesn't need a lot, maybe, you know, half an inch or so. That's probably a little bit too much glue. I have a feeling it's going to squish out, so I'm just going to take a little bit off. So, you know, just about that much glue, and then adhere it in the center, down right here. So this is the part that you folded over, right? So this is what folded behind. And now get rid of any of that excess glue. Can you tell I'm a really messy gluer? It's a good thing that everything gets covered up with pattern paper. All right. Now, I think my glue should be dry, so I'm going to give all of these a good crease now. Okay, excellent. So let's bring back your base page. Set your waterfall aside for just a second because you want to add some pattern paper to the front portion of your B piece. This is where the waterfall is going to sit. Alright, but before we adhere it, we want to put some pattern paper down. Now mine is just a little bit shorter, not as tall. The height, it's not as, Mine is a little bit smaller than I would like it to be, so I'm probably going to add some border strips afterwards, but we'll see how it looks. So we will add this. I'm just going to use my ATG gun to add this piece. Alright, so got my pattern paper down. Now I'll bring in my waterfall, and it's going to adhere to the page via these two little flaps, okay? So these two little flaps will get some wet adhesive on them. And adhere it down to the top of your B piece. And now when you pull on your G-tab, oh, it's not quite adhered yet. Wait and let the glue dry and then play with it. So now that it's adhered, this is how it works. Alright, and now we can add the rest of our pattern paper and then some magnets. So once your waterfall is done and attached to your page, we will add one magnet adhering this whole flap to your pocket. So you're going to put a little piece of score tape right at the top. So it's not that much of an overhang, so between this flap and your pocket piece, so we're going to put it fairly closer than we normally would. You're going to take two magnets and place them down, and then put another piece of score tape on top. Remove the backing and close up your flap, and you have your magnets. So now you can add all the rest of your pattern paper. None of it is anything too crazy. It's just simply, you know, like we've done, measuring the place you want to put it and adhering it down. I'm continuing on with the kind of blue and beige and gray kind of theme that we had in the page 4. So, yep, I'm going to do some of this off camera so it doesn't, because there's a lot of pieces, so it's going to take quite a while. For the waterfall, I was thinking about doing cards. It's one of the things that I downloaded was a set of cards, so I'm going to put cards, playing cards on there, Alice playing cards. Alright, so I'm just going to get all that done and I'll just come back and show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is what I came up with in the decorating. Oh, I still have to put a border there. I'm going to put a blue border. So I'll do that still, and then I've got the cards, and I didn't do the backs. I just did the front part of the waterfall. And then got the blues in here, and then I've got some tags in here that I'm still going to mat. Alright, so that's what mine looks like. And I'm just going to add a little border strip here and here, and then we're going to move on to page 6.